Happy holidays, everybody. Welcome back to the Burn Bootcamp podcast and my segment, Ask Devan Anything, where I get to hang out with you, answer your questions, and just spend some time together. And I hope this is valuable to you on your runs outside of your workout. Maybe this is valuable to you in the car ride. I know this is the holiday season. A lot of you are traveling. Hopefully you get to throw some Burn Bootcamp podcast on. Morgan's episodes on Monday, our trainer talks that are on Tuesday. Wednesday we have guest episodes. Thursday it's me with you, Ask Devan Anything. And then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday you get to hear what we call surprise episodes from myself, Morgan, and the rest of Burn Nation as we travel and as we cover the country. So as always in this format, we got 3 questions. But before I do that, I want to make sure that you got the last episode, because the last episode, all right, it's the one where I have the red shirt on, okay? We're getting in the holiday spirit here. I'm talking about how to survive the holidays, all right? And we're still right in the middle of it right now, okay? So we need to make sure that we get all the way through past New Year's into January and back into that rhythm so that we don't render the 11 months from January to the beginning of December as less useful than they could have been for us if we just installed a little bit of discipline during the holiday season. So this is your call to action to consume the last podcast that I did answering your 3 questions where what did I answer? I answered, how do you handle the holidays? That was one on that. So we'll link that right here for you so that you have it. But I am going to, on this festive holiday episode, oh, you like my shirt, by the way? Merry and Burn. Check it. And we got a little, little pattern. It's so cozy, little crew neck. Oh, snuggle up next to the fire. All right, maybe eat some Brussels sprouts. No, who does that? I'm just kidding. We're not going to eat popcorn. All right, we're not going to just stuff popcorn in our face this holiday season. Brussels sprouts instead. Just pretend like it's popcorn. All right, just shovel it in. No, I'm kidding. Oh, you add Morgan Kline's Brussels sprouts with a little bacon on them. A little olive oil, a little bacon. You might like it just as much as popcorn. All right. Well, hey, listen, everybody. I have 3 questions for you today. The number 1 is from David Duncan. He said, hey, how's shoe designing going? And I thought I'd talk a little bit about that because I know that a lot of you follow me on the gram, and I am in the middle of designing some shoes. I'll talk a little bit more about that. Number 2 is from Wendy Wilkerson. She says, what is your biggest takeaway from your journey so far? Would you change anything? Okay, and number 3 comes from Michael McClements. He says, do you ever get sick, and how do you keep yourself healthy outside of a workout? All right, so between David, Wendy, and Michael, we got a great lineup today. Before we get started, make sure you flex on that subscribe button. Give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. That's where I go look every morning to see who is listening, who is rating, and when you rate and you subscribe, you aren't going to miss episodes where I talk about the holiday survival tactics and like last week or any other episode. So make sure you get it by subscribing. David Duncan, how is shoe designing going? For those of you that maybe aren't on the Instagram, let me just show you this real quick. If you can't see it out there, it's on my Instagram. Just scroll back down, and there is a blue shoe that is on there. And I will say the process is going. Here it is. Here's my process. Let me start with the problem, David, okay? So the problem was everywhere we would go in Burn Nation, people would say, DK, what are the best shoes to wear? So I tried Nike Metcons and Nobles and Flyknits and Ultra Boosts and, you name, and the Reebok shoes. The cross trainers. You name every shoe on the planet, and I have not found a shoe that is the perfect balance of utilization or utility on the floor and fashion. And we do not have to compromise on those things. So I wanted shoes that were so swaggy that you would rock them in jeans, maybe like a white undershirt with some jewelry on, and they would look fly with some denim, they would look fly with some sweatpants, they would look fly, they don't look like workout shoes that you would train in. And most of the shoes that I just mentioned, they're obviously, workout shoes, right? I wanted the all-purpose utilization, but the functionality for the floating floor. And you all know the floating floor, it's got 8-inch, 2,000 plus 8-inch, you'd say 4-inch by 4-inch by 3-inch foam blocks underneath it. And so it has some shock value to it. So we absorb shock when we jump up and down on it, kind of like a gymnastics mat. And then we have our thick foam on the top of it in two layers at this point of plywood. So you have like 8 inches of material, and when you cut, when you run, when you jump, that 8 inches of material has a very proprietary way that it flexes, and so that we need a proprietary shoe that flexes with that material, okay? And so you got to think about having a really strong, solid midsole. You're going to have some arch support on the outside and inside so that when you move laterally, right? But you don't want a bunch of bulky plastic and think like a basketball shoe, like a Jordan basketball shoe, because when you put those things on, they're extremely sound from a utility standpoint, and they also are very fashionable. But they're a little bit bulky. So for what we do, and they're a little heavy for sprinting, and you get like big, you wear Jordans when you sprint, like I do sometimes in my testing phases, and people are like, why are you wearing Jordans when you sprint? I'm like, I'm testing, leave me alone. And they feel like, 6 pounds on each foot. Okay, well, there's a problem. So you see where we're kind of going. We want this like basketball-esque utility with this really fly contemporary style. And so that's how it's going. I told myself I would give me 3 to 5 prototypes. All right, so you can look on my Instagram and you can see them all. You can see the first 3. So I'm at 3 right now, but I think I'm gonna go to 5 because I don't really like the first one. The second one was like a Frankenstein from the Concord Jordans and the Flyknits and the Nobles and all the things that I just mentioned. That was like a Frankenstein shoe. And then one day, this one that I just showed you, this prototype, Max and I were sitting there and we're coloring, and he loves to color. Max is a very good artist, and he watches Daddy color and watches Daddy draw, and he wants to emulate everything that I draw, and it's something that we really bond over. He takes to it more than my other 2 kids. And so instead of watching a movie or iPad, we'll sit there for an hour and a half and we'll draw, and he'll make me do some lines, and he'll then connect the dots to the lines to make the picture of the image, and then he'll go do the colorways and all that. And so Max is sitting there, and I drew him some lines, and he starts making these like different marks on the shoe. And I'll verbalize this so that you guys that can't see it can actually hear it. But for those of you that can see it, I'll show you one more time. And y'all, so like he starts drawing this where this black part here at the top of this lightning bolt separates the shoe kind of from the blue Flyknit part to the shiny rubber part down here below the bolt. He drew a straight line from back of the shoe through the bolt all the way down to the front of the shoe, and I thought it looked really cool how he cut the lightning bolt in half with that design. And I'm like, Maxwell, I'm like, Duty, I call him Duty. I'm like, Duty, you are like so talented, man. Like, how did you come up with that design? And he says, well, Dad, we draw all the time. That's what he told me. Like, he looked at me like, Dad, we draw all the time. So that's prototype 3. Max's work. Max is my secret weapon. We're working on it together. And what I'm going to do here next is I'll have 2 more prototypes drawn up probably over I can't just draw them. It's not like you can sit down and just like, oh, I'm going to come up with a new prototype today. You can't do that. I have to have inspiration. I'm not a classically trained artist. I'm a self-taught artist, so I need inspiration, and a lot of times, I'll need to observe something and look at something. There's something that catches my eye in the real world. I'll take like an element of it, and I'll then put that in my brain, and then I'll take, elements of maybe 30 or 40 different things, and then reconstruct them into like a drawing. So this was the actual first one, you guys, that came from straight imagination. All the other ones had come from models and me observing a model sitting on a display and then realistically drawing it. This was the first one that was like purely from imagination, which hopefully is a sign that I'm getting better at it. I know so many of you are interested in this journey, and so the next step is thank you, by the way. I get like hundreds of comments when we post a design. It's really exciting that you want to be a part of it. And so I would say the next step is the following: is to get my 5th prototype, pick 2, go to a manufacturer, sleep there for 7 days. I got to bring Max because he's going to be my secret weapon. Sleep there for 7 days, come up with a prototype, like the prototype for both shoes, have them manufacture 10 pairs, bring back 10 pairs to my most trusted people who are going to tell me when I'm full of crap and not, and then from there we will go back, do one more round, tweak some things, and hopefully launch there shortly after. So 2023 to 2024, that's when I would say that the first shoe is going to launch. But once it does, you guys, I'm telling you, we are going to go wild with this. And it is like, people ask me what my hobby is, and I try not to say things with work. But when I draw, I'm just drawn to burn stuff. I really enjoy drawing as in sketching as a hobby, and turning it into a business is just the way my brain works. So I apologize, I can never answer the question, what hobbies do you have outside of work? The answer is 0. Question number 2 today, all right, comes from Wendy Wilkerson. What is your biggest takeaway from your journey so far, and would you change anything? You know, Wendy, that's a great question because I had to sit back and really think about it. Would I change anything? And of course, there were things that had outcomes that I didn't like. But you know what? Listen, you know what? I know I don't regret anything. Because even the things that were very hard to go through, or the mistakes that I made, and trust me, there's a lot of them. You know, all of those mistakes inform me on how to be successful. And they inform me what not to do. And it's important to know what to do, but people often overlook the importance of knowing what not to do and what we should start doing versus what we should stop doing. So my biggest takeaway from my journey so far is that you should always follow your intuition and your heart and what desires and goals like light you on fire just to think about them. Because that true goal, that true north is inside of you. And if you're able to bring it out by asking yourself a few key questions, like if I had no limitations or consequences, what would I do with my time every single day if I had to repeat one day over? That's a good way to get there. But the journey, the thing that I have to tell you, Wendy, is follow your heart, follow your intuition. Don't always need data to make decisions. And no matter what anyone else tells you, your dreams are your dreams. Your ambitions are your ambitions. They might not like it. In fact, they won't like it. But then you're going to have a whole mess of people who love it. And those are going to be your people. And the people that don't like it, those are the people that are going to talk negatively about you. They're going to be the naysayers. They're going to be the reasons that make you second guess why you're doing what you're doing in the first place. They may even very well be the people in your own camp that don't want to see you succeed. But you can never let anybody, anyone tell you what your dreams, what your ambition, and what your intrinsic desires are. And that's the one piece of advice I have for anybody out there. Is like, that's all I did. I mean, that's a tall order because that takes a constant awareness. I wrote about the story of just a made-up fictional story because this is the way that I conceptualize on how things get in and out of your head. I wrote about this in Stop Starting Over. Imagine you got Rocco. He's a big bouncer. He's sitting at the doorway of your mind, and he's standing there like he only lets certain thoughts in that party. Okay, and that's the party going on. That's the positivity party behind me. And you got Rocco, this big old bouncer at the doorway, letting good thoughts in to party and kicking the bad thoughts out, right? He's the mediator between your mind. And I like to envision it that way because it's kind of funny and silly to think about like some guy that's like Rocco and he talks like this and he's like, no, get out of here. And he like talks like that, like it's like you got to make it funny because then it gives you a visualization of like, hey, I'm actually in control. Like I have this like mechanism in control and it's this guy or this gal who is a bouncer of my life's nightclub telling people that they can come in or can't come in and letting thoughts in or keeping thoughts out. And that is so important. It's so important. If your best friend drops some poison in your coffee by mistake, they were in, it's like so many things can happen if you don't guard your coffee, if you don't guard the doorway of your mind, all right, with somebody like Rocco, then you're going to let things slip in that shouldn't slip in. And so stand guard and don't let those people that are trying to rain on your parade, don't let them actually do so. Don't give them the access. Don't give them the ability. Just keep them out of the club. You know what I mean? And whether it's thoughts or people or places or whatever triggers that you have that put you into that state, what I want you to do is start really taking control of what goes on between the four walls of your brain, your attitude, your effort, and your belief. And hey, if my silly little metaphor of hiring the bouncer named Rocco to guard those thoughts works for you, then so be it, because it works for me. And so that's what I would take away from my journey so far, that I've regretted nothing, although there's things that I had learned from that were mistakes. But when you guard your thoughts, and when you don't let anybody else's thoughts become yours, or you don't let anybody else impose their will on you, regardless of how close they are to you or not, well, then what happens is that you start designing a life designed by you, not designed by somebody else. And ultimately, that design is your destiny, right? Like, and that's kind of like a pithy way to say it, but your design is your destiny. And the design is a byproduct of all the collective decisions that you make day in and day out, what you do let in, what you don't let in, and what you do say yes to, what you do say no to. And so all of those decisions create the design that ultimately get you to the destiny. So in effect, every decision you make is a part of your outcome. It's a part of your destiny. And that's like my philosophical, like esoteric, silly, goofy way to say it, but that's really true. That's the way you could think about it. And that gives you importance on every single decision that you make. Like nothing is too small. And then if you believe that how you do one little thing is how you do everything, if you're lazy when you pick up the pen to write somebody a note, or you're lazy when you do your schedule, or you're lazy when you write your to-do list, or you don't do it, well, how you do those little tiny things, you guys, is how you're going to do everything. And you're never going to be able to create the discipline necessary to really go tackle those big dreams if you can't like clean your car, right? You got to clean your car first and have yours in your room, and your spaces, need to be in order, and you need to hold accountability for yourself for those spaces before, we start holding accountability or responsibility for even goals, even dreams, right? Not even anybody else, right? Just like, let's clean our room and let's make sure we're taking care of the fundamental things that create order in our lives and remove chaos. And at the end of the day, that will be then our foundation to dream big. And so use your intuition. Don't let anybody tell you different, Wendy. I believe in you. You got this. Now go get it. Okay. We got one more today, and then we're done for the day. So, like I said, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, wherever religious denomination you are, and you're celebrating around this time, Happy Holidays. All right. We really appreciate you guys being here, and thank you for all of your time and attention on Ask Devan Anything and the podcast. Listen, we got one more question today. This one's from Michael McClements, and Michael asks, "Do you ever get sick? And how do you keep yourself healthy outside of working out?" Now, my answer to this, some of you probably won't like that much because it is very much opinionated, okay? So I have a very strong belief that what you think about most, you will become. And I think although I'm not going to sit here and proclaim that there's like a bunch of science to it, there may be, there may not be, I believe that if you think about something, you will become it. So if I'm thinking about not getting sick, or I'm thinking about sickness, or I'm always worried about germs, or I'm always constantly having sickness and blah, blah, blah on my mind, well then, from at least my experience, like I said, I'm not stating anything scientifically or telling you what to believe. At least from my experience, I haven't gotten sick in like 10 years. I've gotten sniffles here and there, not felt good, been exhausted, but like getting a flu or getting like an illness or getting COVID or any of those things, I didn't. And I don't know why, other than I don't really believe that I can. But that's something that could easily be debunked and argued against, and I understand that. The only like physical thing that I do that is different than I think the majority of the population that could contribute to a lack of sickness, and you may or may not want to try this and just see an experiment for you, Michael, but it seems to me that when I drink 8 ounces of green juice every day, what I do is drink Suja Uber Greens. That's a brand. You can buy it online or you can buy it in most grocery stores. But it is called Suja Uber Greens, and I drink 8 to 12 ounces of that every day religiously. And then I also take Shaklee Vitalizer, which is a multivitamin pack with some probiotic in it. And a combination of those two things, I don't take any medicine. I have no prescriptions. I don't take cough syrup. I don't take ibuprofen. There's nothing that's going into my body. I don't take shots. I don't have any outside chemicals going into my body. It is literally this healthy green drink that I drink every day like a religious freak. Okay, every day. I won't drink. I will find it. I will find it out there. Right. I will go get it. I will seek it. And sometimes I'll even have to compromise just to feel good about getting it in, like some other brand somewhere else. Clean Juice is my favorite on the road, and I know they just came out with some new juices in house too. So go check out Clean Juice if one's close to you. Shout out Kat and Landon, my homegirl, homeboy. So I mean, listen. I keep myself healthy by working out every day, eating the right foods, although I have bad food every week, right? It's not all clean all the time. But one thing I do every day is I drink that green juice and I take those vitamins. And I think a combination of maybe a strong immune system, a belief that if I stay healthy, sickness cannot find me, and the actual act of staying healthy in terms of your nutrition and your diet. I think there's something to be said about a combination of those things, and that's just what I believe. I believe if you think and you move and you nourish, then your chances of staying healthy go higher. I'm not saying I'll never get sick. I'm just saying have it in like 10 years, and those are things that I do. It's weird saying that, but it's true. I feel slightly condescending when I say it, because like, oh, they don't get sick. Well, my wife does, and my kids do, and my nanny does, and we all, like everyone does, but me and my house. And so there's something with immunity there. But since you asked, the answer is not really, and it's green juice. It's a strong mental game, and Shaklee Vitalizer. All right? And I wish you guys so well this holiday season. Listen, keep getting your workouts in. Remember, when the gyms are closed, we have Matt Morris, who is live on demand Monday through Friday. And as always, you guys, thank you for being here. You can ask Devan anything, anywhere. Make sure that you review on Apple. If you've listened to more than a couple episodes and you haven't had a chance to review yet, please just take like 2 seconds, like right now, right after this is over. We're gonna go 2 claps on 2, go right to Apple, give that 5-star review, and leave one. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. And 2 claps on 2, 1, 2.